When you come to battlefields like the one where I'm at right now at Verdun, it can become very easy to get caught up in the military aspect of the battle, and troop movements and who was where, when, what happened, and stories and stuff like that, which there's nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes we forget that there were actual people who lived in these areas that did not ask for war, they did not ask for battle, and found their lives deeply disrupted by the events that were going on around them. On February 21st of 1916, the Germans opened up Operation Judgment with this punishing artillery barrage that was described as like a constant drum roll, and it literally transformed the ground under the weight of its fury. But the judgment was not reserved just for the French military. It was also going to fall on the people in this area, like the ones who lived in this village of Douaumont. This is the site of what used to be the village of Douaumont. And if the name Douaumont sounds familiar, well, in one of the first videos that we did here at the for the Battle of Verdun, we talked about Fort Douaumont. Well, the reason that Fort Douaumont was named that is because it was close to the village that was once here. And like so many other places on the Verdun battlefield, you can see how the landscape was just completely churned up from these artillery barrages that the Germans launched on this position, and that later the French launched back when the Germans overtook this area. And if you look at this map that they have over this area, well, here you can see Fort Douaumont, where we were earlier. And then here is the village of Douaumont. It would have had 288 inhabitants in 1914 when the war started, and when the battle was getting ready to commence, a lot of the civilians evacuated, and then you would have had a lot of French military personnel who were staged up here in the village. But yeah, you can see here's Fort Douaumont. The German axis of advance is going to be coming from the north, and you can see that they're going to be out kind of in front of the line there. When we visited Fleury in a prior episode, another village that is said to have died for France, they had markers all over that showed where different businesses were and where people lived, and they've done a similar thing here at Douaumont. Here you can see the names of some of the residents here. Now, I'm not sure if, like for Jules Chemin, I don't know if this is where he lived, where his house was, or if they just have the names of all of the citizens along this row. But anyway, we have a little bit more of a connection when we have a name associated with a place. Here at the village site, they have a little bit of information about the village of Douaumont. So right here, you can see this old postcard. We get a glimpse of what this community looked like, and they also have a map layout. So there was a significant number of people who lived here, and then this is a snapshot of what became of it. In the video that we did about Fort Douaumont, we talked about how during that engagement there were French soldiers who were here in the village of Douaumont in the church tower. There was a machine gun team that saw the German soldiers from the 21st Brandenburg Regiment coming over the top and going down into the dry moat, and they didn't shoot at them because they thought that they were French Zouaves who were coming back from a patrol. But anyway, there would have been, during those first couple weeks of the battle, a lot of hand-to-hand combat that occurred right here for control of the village. And then, of course, as you can see right here, just like with so many places in Verdun, the artillery has just churned up the ground. And we know that that row of houses now was right up here at the top of the hill. Think about what one round of heavy artillery would do to a home. Now think about 10. Now multiply that by 100. Now multiply that by 1,000. You get an idea of just how a village like this could get completely wiped out. Here's the only structure that you will see in Douaumont. This is a memorial chapel that was constructed in 1932, and it sits on the exact spot where the old church sat here in this village. And every October, on the anniversary of when the village was lost to the Germans, at first it was the villagers who lived here, and now it's their descendants meet here for a ceremony. They have a memorial that has been placed here at the village of Douaumont, and wow, the imagery here is powerful, showing the hand of this resident, extending out from the wood and the stone and the rubble from their ruined village. Wow, I don't really have a whole lot to add to it other than this really is really effective at conveying just the horror and the desperation and the chaos and sadness of what happened here in 1916. Man, that is really, really well done. You might be watching this wondering why I'm coming to Douaumont when I've already visited a destroyed village on this trip. It's been my experience visiting these battlefields that there's always that one spot that everyone goes to. In Gettysburg, everyone goes to Little Round Top to see where Joshua Chamberlain and the 20th Maine defended the Union left flank on day 2 of the battle, and completely ignore the fact, or don't know, that David Ireland and the 137th New York did the exact same thing over on the right flank. In Normandy, people go to the dog green sector of Omaha Beach, which is my favorite place on earth, but then forget the fact that there were other beaches that were equally important, and that there was a lot of fighting inland. On the way here, I drove by Fleury. The street is lined with vehicles, which is great. I'm glad people are visiting those places. But here, it's just me. And these people who lived here, they suffered loss, and they suffered grief, and were never able to come back to this place. Fleury is one of 9 villages in this area that died for France. So anyway, I wanted to give just a little bit of attention to one of these other villages that died for France right here in Verdun.